Hello and welcome to the latest instalment of GBN America with me, Patrick Christys. And it's a huge topic today that's making waves not just in America, but frankly right across the Western world. And it's President Donald Trump taking a flamethrower to DEI policies, diversity, equality, inclusion. It appears to be out the window. Some people think this is a great idea. Other people think, of course, it's seriously unfair. I'm joined today by Theron Bond, who's a Democrat strategist, former candidate at Memphis City Council. I'm also joined as well by Bobby Abel, PhD, who's a Republican strategist and chairman of the Fort Bend Co-Republican Party. Thank you very much, both of you. Great to have you on at the show. Bobby, I'll start with you. So Trump's executive orders basically banning DEI right across the board, isn't it?
That's right.
Several people have already lost their jobs as a result of this. Do you think it's a good thing?
Oh, I think it's fantastic. I mean, study after study shows that these DEI departments, not only do they suck millions and probably billions of dollars away from actual productive work, they don't yield anything in return. And it flies in the face of Americans' sense of fairness and fair play and merit. And that's what the president keeps coming back to over and over again, is that we should return to a meritocracy where people get in these positions because they've earned it, regardless of their background. I mean, President Trump's cabinet right now that he's filling is men, women, black, white, gay, straight, you name it. But his focus is finding the best person to execute his policies. I think he's doing a great job.
Theron, I'll start by asking the same question to you then. I'm assuming you don't think this is a good idea, what Trump is doing.
Well, one, it's diversity, equity, and inclusion. And equality and equity have two different meanings. But when we talk about the reason that DEI existed in the first place was because people who have benefited most from DEI were not given a fair playing field. They weren't receiving the same opportunities as their white counterparts, and specifically white male counterparts. In fact, the people who benefited the most from DEI when it existed were white women. People like to think that it is just women or just members of the LGBTQ plus community or those who identify as disabled or veterans, but in fact, white women benefit most. So it is black women who benefit the least from any measures that are put in place, but they were put in place to make sure that those who are typically overlooked, despite their merit, despite their qualifications that exist well, and despite being more qualified than their white counterparts, specifically white male counterparts in most cases, that they too should have a fair shake. But because they weren't, that's why these policies were put in place. And when Bobby mentioned that President Trump is putting black people in his administration and gay people in his administration, I'd like to know who the LGBTQ plus person is that's in his administration currently, because we haven't seen that. And if we talk about black persons being in his administration, well, we've only heard mention of one, and that's a man. I believe his name is Scott, and he's being considered for HUD secretary, which seems to be reserved for a black male. But we don't see any black women or anything else that's represented by this. And what I really wish that people would do is when they refer to DEI, they they just say, oh, it should be based on merit, but we know it's not just based on merit, but just say black. Say when you mean DEI, you mean black. You mean you don't want to feel like that black folks have a greater opportunity to achieve success and professional opportunities over white males specifically, but in some cases, white women as well, because that's the underlying message.
Well, Bobby, I'll let you come back to that. Is that for you what DEI means, does it? Is it just the promotion of black people over white people? I mean, I'm just going to add a bit of context here. In Britain, it certainly doesn't mean that, by the way, because we have a huge Muslim population, we have a huge Sikh population, we have a huge Bangladeshi population, and that's certainly what springs to mind more here where I am, but obviously I'm in a different continent to where you two are. But Bobby, is this what you think is going on, that actually people have been not getting jobs on merit because of their race, but rather singularly because of their race or their gender?
Yes, exactly. And we've seen this both in hiring and in college applications, where lawsuits have been filed and plaintiffs have won because they've been discriminated against based on their race, where whites or Asians were not given access to the elite institutions of higher education in America because of their background. They were rejected because of their background. And that is just 100% wrong. That is immoral, and that's not what the great Dr. Martin Luther King stood for. I grew up as a child in the legacy of his assassination. So what we learned in school was a colorblind society, was this great American melting pot, as we like to say, where everybody, regardless of race or gender or religion, could come together and pursue success. And so, to Theron's point, no, I don't think black males or females should be given an advantage over anybody. No one should be given an advantage. They should earn the advantage. They should work for the advantage. We've had civil rights laws for 60 years, and poll after poll after poll through the 80s, 90s, and 2000s showed that race relations were getting better. It all turned south after the Obama administration, and the American public overwhelmingly wants to get rid of these programs, and all President Trump is doing is delivering on that promise.
No, the reason that white men or white folks and Asian Americans filed a lawsuit regarding college admissions was because they felt like black people were getting accepted over them, which was the furthest thing from the truth. And they also still have legacy admissions implemented, which by far benefit white and Asian Americans. That's what that lawsuit was about, because notice you didn't say black, but when I think it's really rich how people that are not black bring up Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, who said that people should be judged by the content of their character and not the color of their skin. But as we continue to see, it is a color of skin that blinds folks from seeing their merit and seeing their qualifications and rivaling their white counterparts into elevated positions that they are severely unqualified for, especially when it comes to black folks specifically. And he also said, to be clear, that an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And be clear that while you think Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said that, the reality is that this is not a colorblind society. And if you do not see color, that means you do not see black people, you do not see brown people, you do not see people that identify as indigenous or Native American or Mexican or Hispanic, because in fact we are a colorful society, and people who view things as colorblind are borderline racist.
Okay. Well, that's just outrageous. I mean, that's absolutely outrageous right there. You don't need to look at race or religion to see if someone is qualified to be an engineer, to be a mathematician, to work in any industry in government. You look at their qualifications.
Name a black woman in Trump's administration right now.
I mean, this is outrageous right here. Yeah. And the other idea that someone who is not black can't look to Dr. Martin Luther King for inspiration and guidance, and that's exactly what you said.
All right, guys,
just okay. Misinterpret his words.
Both of you, both of you,
to justify your backwards ideology.
Right, can I ask both of you to stop quickly, please? Sorry, Bobby.
Colorblind is being racist. Full stop. Period. Point blank.
Absolutely not.
All right, both of you, both of you. I'm just going to very politely, just for the sake of, because people have to listen to this, right? So we can't hear it if both of you are talking over each other. I understand the strong views on both sides. Bobby, the question I was going to ask to you was, who did better amongst ethnic minorities? Was it Trump or Kamala Harris?
I'm sorry?
Who did better amongst ethnic minorities at the last election? Was it Trump or was it Kamala Harris?
Oh, it was definitely Kamala Harris, and that's where the Republican Party is still working to show people that, and this is where the progress, this is what was so great about Trump's victory, is that he gained ground in every area of society. Hispanics along the border of Texas, where I'm from, these border counties that rejected this open borders policy, they went overwhelmingly for Trump. County after county turned red for the first time ever because they supported Trump's agenda. Now, these are primarily Hispanic counties where the Democrats would say, oh, you can't vote Republican because it's racist, like we've been hearing today. And yet they did. Young people went for Trump in larger numbers than before. Blacks and Hispanics went for Trump in larger numbers for before, which seems kind of strange if he's apparent racist. But what he does is delivers policies that benefit all people regardless of their background.
So Theron, can I ask you, Theron, would you be in favour of blind applications? So completely blind application. So you submit a CV with no name on it, with no identifying factor at all. So whoever the employer is, for whatever job it is, just gets the CV. Would that not be a way of alleviating whatever people think might be wrong with DEI, but also alleviating what some people might see as racism in the application process? Would you be in favour of that?
100%. If we're going to talk about eliminating DEI, then eliminate the ethnicity box and eliminate the gender box. But be clear, the reason that President Trump won is because he ran on immigration, but primarily lowering the cost of eggs and gas, both of which have gone up consequentially across this entire country. And he ran on fear-mongering, and everybody knows it. But incidentally, he also abandoned those Black Americans that voted for him and those immigrant Americans who were able to vote legally that voted for him immediately. And thousands of folks have already been deported because of that. And you know how many of those folks regret their vote for Donald Trump? It's in the tens of thousands, and it grows every single day, because some of those folks who voted for some of those few policies that President Donald Trump campaigned on did not think it would impact them, and now it is screaming at them right on their front doorstep, and they thought they were going to be exempt, and they found out today, yesterday, and every day since Trump has been inaugurated that they are not exempt from his poor policies.
Just before I move us on to the next topic, Bobby, you seem to be smirking a bit at that. Do you not buy that?
Well, no, it's outrageous because the 1,500 people that have been rounded up so far are criminal illegal aliens. These are murderers and rapists and thieves that they focused on from the beginning. We said the worst first. That is the Trump policy. That is what the border czar is doing. So, of course, these 1,500 people, if they happen to vote for Trump, which I doubt they did, are regretting it because they are about to be deported. They should have never been in the country in the first place, and now they are heading back to their country of origin, and we're seeing how Trump is working with those countries to take them back. They should not have been here in the first place.
Okay.
So that explains why they're going into churches and schools, right?
They're
because
not doing
kids
that.
Are murderers and rapists?
It would be nice to have a discussion here, but that has been totally debunked.
Oh, why is he sending ICE into schools? Where elementary age school children go to learn. Why is Trump doing that?
That story is completely false. That has already been debunked.
It's not.
I can't believe you're saying it on the air.
In Chicago schools and administrators. No, it can't be false. It's true. Read it. Google it. It is there.
The president is focusing on criminal illegal aliens.
Then why is he going into schools?
Down among criminal illegal aliens.
Why is he going into school? You can't answer the question because
I think to be fair on him, he has answered.
And he shouldn't be. Okay. He's not just going after murderers and rapists. He's going after everybody that looks like they don't belong here as a white person in America that appears from some other country. He is snatching them up on the streets and finding out that some of those folks, in fact, are here legally. And he is also going into schools and wants to be able to access churches.
Right, okay, and Bobby,
just you don't like it doesn't mean it's not true.
Just to be clear on this, because I want to get on to another topic, Bobby, your response to that, as I understand it, is that you just think that's completely false, that he's not actually going into schools, the story's been debunked. That's your response to that, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he is focusing on the worst of the worst. They had a clip the other day that showed someone being rounded up from Haiti, I believe, who's been here. He has numbers of assault charges, numerous assault charges, and he's blasting President Trump. So, yeah, that's someone that does not like the policy, but he's about to be returned to Haiti.
Very clearly.
He's also going into schools, so let's not lie about the statistical data that exists.
Fine. Let's just whiz ourselves on, because another aspect of this DEI stuff is to do with the military, and that is to do with gender in the military, specifically transgender people in the military. So transgender individuals are going to be banned from serving in the military. It's one of the policies that he is either bringing in or has just brought in. Forgive me for that. But anyway, Bobby, is that a good idea?
Yeah, absolutely. And what he's saying with this policy is we're not going to do this pronouns nonsense. If you're a man, you're not going to be allowed to dress like a woman and act like a woman. You know, you want to do that outside the military on your own dime, that's fine. But what we are focusing on with our new Secretary of Defense and Trump's policy is lethality, making the biggest fighting force that is the most cohesive as possible. And we can't do this with people that pretend they live in an alternate reality. We need people focused on the mission.
Okay.
How does somebody's gender dictate how they perform in battle? That's the question. How does somebody's gender dictate how they perform in battle? It doesn't. It doesn't. So the same president...
You're addressing that to me?
I think so.
The same answer. Yeah, if you can answer it, you can.
In order to perform well at battle, you have to have a cohesive fighting force. And it is the complete antithesis of a cohesive fighting force to be with someone that doesn't even understand their own body, that lives in a delusional world. that is not someone that should be out on the battlefield because clearly something is wrong with them. Trump
No, you don't
recognizes
understand
that.
their body.
Please
They
stop
understand
interrupting.
it.
I mean, do you want me to answer the question or
But
not?
but what you're saying doesn't make sense. So no, I no longer want you to answer the question. The
Well, you don't
reality is
control
that
this
someone's
interview,
gender does
unfortunately.
not
If
dictate
you ask
how
me a
they
question, I'm
perform
going to
in
respond
battle.
to it.
President Trump said he was going to be a unifying president, yet at every turn he has found reasons to exclude people, whether they're black, whether they're brown, whether they're LGBTQ+, whether they're trans, whether they're senior, whether they're on food stamps, whether they get free lunch at school. He has used every opportunity he's had to separate people who are living in the United States of America. And it's really, really sad, and it's frankly disgusting. And so when you talk about someone's gender dictating how they perform in battle, that's ludicrous. That's like the original comment that Pete Hegseth, who's now the secretary, said that women don't belong in battle. Yet there are people who serve in our Congress who have been to battle, who are veterans themselves and have served honorably. So when you talk about transgender folks not knowing themselves, they know themselves. Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean they don't understand themselves. And they frankly may fight in battle better than you or I can. But to exclude them from serving in the military when we talk about having the best and brightest and strongest, apparently that's the DEI part that no one wants to talk about. Well, when it comes to transgender, let's leave them out, and that should never be the case.
Okay, final word on this, Bobby. Do you just reject that? You don't think that anyone who is identifying as transgender, frankly,
well, again,
could be?
We're not looking to kick people out. We're asking people to exist and live in reality. So if someone, again, on their own dime wants to live their life the way they want to live it in a fantasy world, that's quite fine. But if a man signs up in the military, guess what? He's going to serve as a man. If a woman signs up in the military, she's going to serve as a woman. That makes sense. That you're not talking about men in women's showers as we've had to deal with over the last couple years, and people have totally rejected that. And it's quite interesting that Theron says that Trump is rejecting and dividing all these people. He is more popular than he has ever been. We are seeing popularity ratings that you don't see in a president, that you haven't seen through Biden's administration for sure. So he's obviously doing something right. She may not like it, but the stats, the results are showing a completely different story.
All right,
He's popular with
go.
racists and bigots and people who seek to exclude Americans who aren't white and male or white and female in very few cases.
Okay, well,
Interesting, because I guarantee if I walk down the street anywhere where I live, people would say he is not racist. You ask blacks, whites, Hispanics. I live in the most diverse county in the entire United States.
And are you looking under the pants and skirts of each of those people to determine their gender?
People, they
You're
are
not
happy that Trump won.
Normally,
no, they're
white,
not.
Hispanic.
A lot of people have voters' remorse.
Okay.
Well, it's interesting that they have that, and yet his popularity goes up. That's
Again,
all
with
right
racists and bigots.
Describe right there.
All right.
Racists and bigots, his popularity
All right,
grows,
guys.
goes up.
I've enjoyed this. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, both of you. It has been a pleasure. So good, in fact, that you two might be lumped together again at some point on another debate,
Absolutely.
I think. So it is much appreciated. But seriously, great stuff. We wanted a debate. We got a debate. So Sterling Bond there, a Dem strategist, Bobby Abel there, PhD, of course, Republican strategist as well. Thank you very much. Until next time. And make sure as well, if you've enjoyed this, that you do sign up to GBN America on all of our social media platforms. So I will see you soon.